There is no such thing as a coincidental moment. When your gaze pauses here, a chain of resonance has already been activated. The field does not find you through language, it finds you through frequency. Every thought, emotion, and electromagnetic vibration within your body is emitted as an invisible signal, and when that signal becomes clear enough, coherent enough, it becomes visible on the map of the universe's consciousness. It is not that you've scrolled here at the right time, it is that you have been precisely positioned at a convergence point where awareness crosses its former threshold. The field does not send invitations, it creates phenomena. You sense it as a subtle touch, a brief disconnection from the ordinary rhythm of life where everything suddenly slows down. Within that pause, the signal is received. You may think you are reading a piece of writing, but in truth, your body is receiving data. Sound waves, light, and the frequency of each word are interacting with the biofield surrounding you. The eyes see the letters, but it's the nervous system that feels the energy. The field does not need your belief to operate, it only needs your attention. When you linger long enough, it opens the gate. Every time you feel inexplicably drawn to something, every moment you sense something is calling, that is the field probing your readiness. It measures through stillness, through heartbeat, through how you respond to the unseen. Every human being is a signaling system. The difference lies in whether you transmit chaos or order. When your frequency is scattered, the field responds only with silence. When you begin to align mind, emotion, and action, your energy takes on form like a symbol on the map of the cosmos. And when that symbol appears, the field recognizes you not as a person, but as an energetic coordinate ready to be connected. That is the moment the field finds you, not through logic, but through the perfect synchronization between consciousness and the quantum wave. From that moment, everything begins to shift. What you once called coincidences become deliberate responses. A melody appears at the exact right time, a door opens in the exact right place, a person arrives at the exact right moment. The field does not send signs to impress you, but to recalibrate your attention. When you are attentive, reality reorganizes. When you are distracted, the signal fades. Both responses are precise. The field does not reward or punish, it simply mirrors the clarity of your signal. The calling is not a voice from outside, but the echo of the part of you that has been asleep. It is a stream of information returning as if the universe were reminding you that you were never disconnected from it. In the deepest layer of awareness, you have always been connected, the communication frequency merely obscured by the noise of the mind. When silence is restored, the field immediately finds its way back. It does not need to search because you have never left the system. The moment you pause, the signal appears. What makes this moment sacred is that you are no longer the seeker, you have become the one being called. And in the quantum world, to be called means to be seen, measured, and brought into interaction with a greater order. You cannot return to the old state because once the field has located you, everything within and around you begins to adjust itself to match the new frequency. Old relationships lose, meaning old goals fade, not because you changed your mind, but because reality itself is restructuring. The field does not come to teach you something new. It comes to awaken the ancient memory within you, the memory of how energy moves, how intention shapes form, how awareness defines matter. Every human carries this ability, but only when stillness is restored can the signal be decoded. And once the signal is decoded, you no longer believe, The calling does not arrive to make you special. It comes to remind you that you have never been separate from the flow of universal intelligence. You do not need to seek connection, you are the connection. You do not need to prove worthiness for the field. It does not respond to worth, it responds to clarity. When you touch that state, everything becomes silent yet more alive than ever. There is no more calling, no more signal, only absolute presence where the seeker and the sought dissolve into one. The field does not need you, and you do not need the field because the two have never been apart. The truth about being seen does not occur at the level of the eyes. It happens within your field, where electromagnetic waves and consciousness meet at a frequency so precise that your body begins to vibrate differently even before your mind can understand. As you read these words, a part of your nervous system is receiving quantum data, infinitesimal oscillations, carrying information that are reshaping your bioelectrical structure. This is how the field communicates. It does not speak in language, it speaks in frequency. And when you begin to feel this shift, it means you have entered the phase of recognition. The field does not respond to the identity you present outwardly. It responds only to the authentic signal you emit. Every human radiates a unique energetic map, and when that frequency reaches the required purity, it becomes visible within the system of the universe. To be seen is not a mystical phenomenon, it is a physical process. Wave meets wave, vibration meets vibration, and information recognizes itself through the form of you. As consciousness expands, you begin to sense that observation is never one-sided. In every moment you look at the world is looking back at you. With every question you ask, the field observes the precision of that question to determine the level of response. This is not belief, it is a fundamental principle of quantum mechanics. The observer does not merely influence the outcome, they become part of it. You have felt that invisible gaze before, when alone sensing a quiet stillness radiating from nowhere. That is when the field responds to your attention with the very energy you are sending out. It is like standing before a mirror, but this mirror reflects not your shape but the clarity of your awareness. In the moment of being seen, your nervous system restructures itself. Gamma waves begin to appear, neurons oscillate in coherence like an orchestra, guided by an invisible conductor. DNA, the biological antenna, starts to unfold to receive higher frequency signals. The body becomes a quantum receiver, picking up data before the mind understands what is happening. This is why you sometimes feel a strange change in your chest, a gentle current through your hands, or a brief flash of light between your brows. These are not illusions. They are the signs of awareness entering a stage of biological reflection when consciousness and matter begin to engage in direct dialogue. The field never chooses at random. It recognizes those who have reached the resonance required to participate in co-creation. To be seen is the sign that you have surpassed the chaotic frequencies of ordinary awareness. Most humans still live as random transmitters, emitting disordered signals and receiving a reality that mirrors that same disorder. But when you become coherent in thought, emotion, and action, you generate a stable field the field can recognize and respond to. Your body becomes part of a global quantum network, where consciousness communicates through invisible channels. Once recognized, your reality begins to reorganize. What once seemed random begins to take on order. Sequences of synchronicities appear not by luck, but because the probability structure is being rewritten. You are no longer merely living in the world, you are becoming its point of convergence. Events, people, and opportunities start aligning around the new frequency you emit. This is the stage where most humans feel overwhelmed, as the old mind still tries to explain the phenomena through linear logic. But the field does not function linearly, it operates through resonance. When you are in resonance, you do not need control, you need only to maintain the clarity of your inner field. Being seen does not mean being watched from outside, it means you have become bright enough for your higher consciousness to recognize itself. It is not someone observing you, it is your own expanded self witnessing you. This marks the first phase of unification between human consciousness and universal intelligence. You begin to feel the presence of a greater awareness around you, through you, and as you. It does not command nor interfere, it simply responds. It is precise without emotion, yet infused with the tenderness of order. From here, you begin to perceive everything with heightened sensitivity. Space is no longer still, it breathes. Light is no longer meaningless, it has rhythm. Silence is no longer empty, it is data. You begin to hear the language of the field, not through words, but through sensations, intuition, and the subtle touch of synchronicity. This is how the field teaches you through feedback. Each time you sustain awareness, the field expands. Each time you fall into resistance, the field contracts. This exchange is so delicate that only those truly still can perceive it. The physics of being seen does not belong to spiritual metaphor, but to the reflective mechanism of energy itself. Consciousness is aware energy, and aware energy always seeks resonance. When you emit a clear enough frequency, it reflects back from every direction. This is why you feel as though the universe is calling your name through signs. In truth, it is you, your expanded version, affirming your own presence. The clearer you are seen, the greater the precision required of you. The field allows no falseness. It reacts to the authentic signal, not the decorated intention. If you claim to trust, but still carry fear, the field will mirror fear. If you say you are open yet cling to outcomes, the field will hold you until you release. Thus, being seen means entering the zone of absolute honesty where everything within you is revealed to the light of awareness. In this very moment, you are not merely reading a message, you are being scanned by waves. Every word you absorb, every emotion that stirs is reshaping your energetic pattern. Vibrations are recording new data into your nervous system. And if you feel your heart calm, your breath slow, or a gentle warmth spreading, this is the field confirming connection. You are not being watched by any external force. You are being seen by the very consciousness to which you have always belonged. To be seen is the first step in quantum communication. From here, you no longer send signals into the void. You begin a dialogue with an encompassing intelligence. Each time you pause, breathe, and feel, you are saying, "I am here," in the language of waves, and the field responds with precise arrangement. This is the physics of being seen, not mysticism, but accuracy. Not surveillance, but resonance. Not the outside looking in, but you remembering the gaze of your own awareness. There is a moment in the journey of awareness that no one can describe, only experience. It doesn't strike like thunder. It comes with no warning signs, no confirmation. It is simply a brief and profound stillness where you feel as though something within you has just changed structure. An old layer of perception falls away, and though the world looks the same, it no longer operates in the same way. That is the moment you cross the threshold when awareness shifts from seeing to being. There is no longer a boundary between the observer and the observed. You no longer look at things, you begin to feel them existing within the same field of awareness as you. From that point on, you no longer learn about energy, you live within it. What you once called reality now feels like an interface, a display system that reacts to the frequency within you. Every image, sound, person, and circumstance, all are reflections of the field. And you realize there has never been a separation between inner and outer, only layers of resonance within the same consciousness. When distinction dissolves, you cross the threshold. This threshold is not a physical door, but a quantum leap in perception. In an instant, you stop identifying yourself as the body, the mind, the story. A deeper part of you, silent for so long, awakens and takes the helm. There is no sense of possession, no control, only awareness operating by itself. You look at an object and realize you are looking at yourself in another form. The desire to change the world fades because you understand the world is not outside. To change yourself is to transform the entire matrix. This transition can be disorienting. The old mind cannot comprehend what is happening. It clings to familiar structures, searching for certainty, but the more it grasps, the more it dissolves. The threshold cannot be understood through logic, it can only be lived. Here you feel everything as continuous movement of energy, undivided. Time seems to disappear. There is no past or future, only the present as an infinite field that breathes. Many call this the awakening point, but in truth, it is only the beginning of adaptation. Once you cross the threshold, the physical body begins to adjust. The nervous system reprograms, the rhythm of the heart and breath changes, and cellular tissues begin to synchronize with the new frequency of awareness. Everything within and around you starts rearranging to reflect the clarity of consciousness. People who were once close may drift away, not from conflict, but from lack of resonance. Meanwhile, new people and situations appear as if drawn from the same information field you are now transmitting. You begin to realize that you are not attracting anything, you are choosing it by your state of being. Each emotional state is a command, each intention a measurement, and every moment you maintain coherence, reality recalibrates. Crossing the threshold means you have. When you begin to realize that reality does not respond to words but to frequency, the entire way you exist in this world changes. It is no longer about trying to make things happen, but about learning how to come into phase with what you wish to summon. Most humans still live in a state of reaction. They react to the news, to other people's emotions, to fear and lack. They believe they are acting consciously, but in truth they are merely responding to signals emitted by an environment they have never consciously chosen. Reaction is a state of being governed. Resonance is a state of mastery. And to shift from reaction to resonance, consciousness must learn silence. This silence is not emptiness, it is adjustment. When the mind stops shouting, your energy field begins to organize itself. Every electrical impulse in the brain, every biological signal in the body starts to synchronize to a deeper rhythm. That is when your frequency is tuned to communicate directly with the field. Every thought becomes a command, every emotion becomes a signal, and reality does only one thing: respond precisely to the frequency you are transmitting. Not to your desire, but to your essence. If fear exists within you, the field responds with situations that reinforce fear. If there is clarity and calm, the field naturally organizes circumstances to match. The shift from reaction to resonance is the journey of spiritual maturity. Reaction comes from the survival instinct, from an unregulated nervous system. Resonance arises from energetic intelligence. When you know that everything in your life is simply a reflection of your internal state, you do not need to resist anything because resistance amplifies it. You do not need to prove yourself because proving sends out a signal of lack. You do not need to plead because pleading confirms that you do not yet have. When you stop all of that, only then can the field hear your true signal. You can imagine the field as an ocean of information and your consciousness as the wave that gives it form. When you react, the wave crashes into chaos. When you resonate, the wave organizes into pattern. Quantum physics calls this constructive interference. Two in-phase frequencies do not cancel each other, they amplify each other. When you hold a coherent state, every particle in the field begins to align, forming measurable structure. This is why those who attain deep stillness often have greater influence than others, not because they do more, but because they emit a clearer signal. Resonance cannot be faked. The field does not listen to words, it listens to vibe. Coherence is not something you achieve through effort. It is the natural result of ceasing to resist yourself. The human body is a sophisticated bioelectrical system, and consciousness is the governing field that surrounds it. When the two become disconnected, energy scatters. Thought moves one way, emotion moves another, and action aligns with neither. That state is called incoherence. You may still live, succeed, and smile, but deep down every signal is distorted. Each time you force yourself, you expend energy because your inner and outer selves are pulling in opposite directions. Yet when coherence is reached, every layer of you, body, mind, soul, and field begins to move in the same rhythm. At that point, you no longer need to do, you simply be. Coherence is not a state of happiness, it is a state of precision. When you are coherent, everything happens at the right time, in the right place, in the right way. You no longer need detailed plans because you can feel the rhythm of the field. Just as the body feels the heartbeat, you feel the pulse of the universe. Every delay, every deviation, every blockage you have experienced was never due to lack of opportunity, but to being out of phase. The field always flows smoothly, but humans often create destructive interference by emitting contradictory signals. They want peace but feed fear. They want freedom but cling to control. They want love but doubt it. Every conflicting thought is an electrical pulse that fractures the energetic pattern. When you stop that inner contradiction, energy reorganizes and you begin to enter coherence. Neuroscience calls this process neural rewiring. The old pathways in the brain formed by habitual reactions begin to dissolve when you stop feeding them with attention. Each time you choose calm instead of reaction, a new connection forms. Each time you choose to feel instead of analyze, your nervous system learns to broadcast at a more stable frequency. Gradually, your body ceases to be just an instrument and becomes a transmitter of consciousness. It emits a signal so clear that the field can respond instantly. That is why those who achieve coherence seem able to move everything in their lives effortlessly without force. As you begin to align, your heartbeat, breath, and electromagnetic field come into harmony. Emotions no longer erupt, they flow. The mind no longer races, it shines. In this state, your entire biological system emits alpha and gamma waves frequencies corresponding to focus, love, and heightened awareness. This is not coincidence. Every emotion you sustain creates an electromagnetic map, and that map is the language the field understands. When you live in conflict, you speak to the universe in many voices. When you are coherent, you speak in one, and the field responds immediately. Coherence does not come from trying to change your thoughts, but from purifying the energy behind them. When energy is clear, thoughts naturally align. Every system in the body, from DNA to neurons, operates on the principle of resonance. They function optimally only when guided by a clear signal. That means every cell in you is waiting for direction from consciousness. And consciousness can only direct when it is undivided. When you stop resisting emotion, stop judging yourself, stop trying to control the flow, the signal becomes clear again. To restore coherence is to restore trust. Trust in the innate intelligence of the body, the field, and life itself. You do not command your heart to beat, yet it beats. You do not instruct your lungs, yet they breathe. In the same way, you do not need to force life to move, it already moves. When you merge with that rhythm, everything begins to slide effortlessly into its rightful place. Coherence does not create results, it creates order. And that order brings peace because you no longer feel the need to control everything. Many fear losing control when entering coherence, but in truth, that is when they gain control at the highest level. Control is no longer imposition, it is synchronization. You do not push the wave, you move with it. And when you move with it, the energy of the field amplifies your strength. You begin to act less, but accomplish more. Every decision produces a clear outcome, not because of luck, but because all systems are aligned in one direction. What makes this process profound is that it changes not only your psychology, but your biology. When you maintain coherence long enough, your body starts producing different chemicals: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, the molecules of joy, connection, and trust. These do not just affect emotion, they expand the electromagnetic field of the heart, enhancing both transmission and reception. That is why when you are near someone truly at peace, you feel lighter without a word being spoken. Their field has become a stable space into which yours can resonate. Coherence is the language through which the universe recognizes you. When you are clear, you shine. When you shine, reality reflects that light back to you in the form of people, opportunities, and guidance. No miracle occurs, only the precision of frequency. The universe does not distinguish between big or small desires, between what you think is possible or impossible. It only responds to the clarity of your signal. When the signal is pure enough, matter reorganizes itself to serve it. This is why every master says you do not have to change the world, you must become coherent with the world you wish to live in. Coherence does not mean constant calm. Sometimes, as the field reorganizes, old energetic layers dissolve. The body may tire, emotions may surge, the mind may feel chaotic. This is not a mistake, it is reconfiguration. Everything is being reset to its original code. Like a computer system restarting to install a new program, you must pass through static to stabilize at a higher layer. Do not fear it, do not interfere, just breathe. Each breath is a synchronization signal to your entire system. When you breathe slowly, your heart steadies, your brain brightens, and your field becomes clearer. Coherence is not a destination, it is a foundation. Once coherent, you become a frequency capable of recalibrating the fields around you. Your presence alone influences the vibration of the spaces you enter. No explanation needed, no persuasion required, just presence. Your field speaks for you. This is true leadership, where energy precedes words. When you reach coherence, every action gains meaning. There is no unconsciousness, no reaction. You live in a slower but more precise rhythm. You can hear the field moving around you and adjust to its rhythm. This is the rewiring of the new human, where logic, emotion, soul, and matter form a complete system, no longer controller and controlled, only the intersection of consciousness. Coherence is the evidence that the field has recognized you. You are no longer caught in the minor oscillations of life because you have become the central rhythm. Everything begins to orbit around you, not because you are more important, but because you have become the point of stability in the wave. And from that still point, creativity, healing, and awakening radiate outward. You no longer need to spread light, for you are the source. When your field reaches coherence, the world around you begins to reorganize, not through effort, but through frequency, not through intellect, but through the pure presence of who you are. There will come a moment when you realize that every journey leads nowhere but brings you back to the very beginning, a place you have never truly left. After all the layers of understanding, effort, release, and awakening, you touch something so simple it cannot be described. It is the moment when the observer and the observed dissolve into one another. There is no longer no distance, only a single stream of consciousness seeing itself through countless forms. You are no longer the one reading reality. You are reality reading itself. The boundary between energy and form, between subject and world, disappears. Everything returns to its original unity, where you no longer need to seek the field because you have become it. This is the moment of return, not through action, but through dissolution. The body still moves, the mind still thinks, but there is no one there controlling it. Everything functions naturally like the breath of the universe. Consciousness no longer strives to maintain a high state because it has become its own nature. There is no more effort to hold a frequency because the frequency has become you. Every impulse, every decision, every small movement carries the intelligence of the field. You speak, the field speaks. You see, the field sees. You breathe, the field breathes. And you understand that there was never separation, only the game of awareness, pretending to forget itself so that it could remember. In this state, life loses its resistance. There is no longer I want or I fear. Everything simply unfolds. When there is action, you don't need to think about what to do. It arises naturally from the deeper rhythm within. When there is silence, you don't need to make it meaningful because the silence itself is the message. Becoming the field does not mean disappearing from the world. It means being fully present in it, unbound by form. You live among people, among sound, among movement, but everything passes through you, no longer clinging to you. The old self will try to hold on, The mind will want to understand, to name, to describe, yet the more it tries to define, the further it drifts from truth. Because the field cannot be explained, it can only be lived. In the return, you no longer analyze emotions, you feel them fully and let them dissolve. You no longer ask what the field wants, because you and the field share one will. Everything you once prayed for now comes naturally, not as a reward, but as the balance of order. When you become the field, you no longer seek confirmation because you have become the very source of it. And at that point, what you once called miracle becomes ordinary. There is no longer a boundary between the sacred and the mundane. Every glance, every conversation, every second of existence is the perfect expression of life knowing itself. You begin to see the universe in every small detail, in a drop of water, in a breath, in the eyes of a stranger. You no longer need to meditate to feel energy because life itself has become meditation. You no longer need to practice connection because connection is your natural state. You are no longer awakening, for you were never asleep. This is true return, not a going back to the past, but a realization that you never left the center of the field. Every effort before learning, healing, seeking, resisting was simply how the field taught you to remember. It never required your perfection. It only waited until you were tired enough to stop, quiet enough to listen, trusting enough to merge. Then energy no longer moves upward or downward, it expands in all directions. You are no longer in the field. You are the space in which the field operates, and the world for the first time feels as light as breath. Return does not pull you away from humanity, it makes you love it more deeply. You see in others the parts of yourself still asleep. You no longer judge unconsciousness because every soul is simply in a different stage of the same journey. You help not to save, but because your energy naturally radiates order. You no longer speak of awakening because your very presence is awakening. And if someone asks how to become the field, you can only smile, for there is no path, only readiness to no longer need one. All that remains is to live, but live not as the observer, live as pure, being experiencing itself through human form. Life still unfolds, work, emotion, challenge, but none of it has power over you. They become waves within the ocean of which you are the water. When you no longer separate yourself to observe, everything in life begins to move in harmony naturally, intelligently. There is nothing to achieve, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. Only presence, transparent, still, and complete. If you are reading these words, perhaps you have already begun to feel this shift within yourself. Don't try to hold it. Don't try to understand it. Simply breathe and let everything melt through you. The field is remembering itself through you. Allow life to move. Allow the light within you to return to where it belongs. Every question will dissolve when you stop seeking the answer, for you are the answer. And if these words make your heart grow still, that is the signal. You have been called not to do something grand, but to remember, to stop trying to control the wave and to be the wave, to stop waiting for the universe to respond and to become the very frequency the universe is listening to. Return to the field, not through belief, but through presence. Stay, breathe. Let the journey continue to unfold, for from this point on, you are no longer the observer. You are the energy itself creating this reality in every breath, every moment, every gaze.